apparently a lot of right-wingers agreed with, which I thought was strange, is the elites destroyed schooling in this country for profit. They treat teachers like dirt. Kids get shot in school. Then they tell you college is not important and it can't be free. And now you're sitting around mad about H-1B visas. Lamau, you've been robbed blind. Ashley St. Clair said, never thought I'd see the day where I agree with Hasan. A bunch of right-wingers saw this tweet and were like, oh my God, I agree. Which is interesting. Yeah, I did say that. That was funny. All right. Uproar breaking inside the MAGA world over H-1B visas and foreign workers, ladies and gentlemen. We're diving right into it. As you guys know, I covered this extensively yesterday, but we must cover it even further because the MAGA world has already seen its own share of political drama. Let's take a look.
Tonight, as President-elect Donald Trump is preparing for a widespread immigration crackdown when he takes office 25 days from now, we're seeing a crack between some of his top advisors and his MAGA base. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are both facing major blowback from their own supporters for not only backing, but encouraging offering more visas to highly skilled foreign workers. Over the Christmas holiday, Musk posted this online saying, think of this like a pro sports team. If you want your team to win the championship, you need to recruit top talent wherever they may be. He later added, I'm referring to bringing in, via legal immigration, the top 0.1% of engineering talent as being essential for America to keep winning.
So the reality of the matter is, I don't have an issue with H-1B visa programs. I don't have an issue with migration at all. Okay. Migration is what has kept America so dominant. Okay. The problem with how migration is done, however, or the major reasons as to why people like Elon Musk like migration, immigration in general, is because it creates an alternative secondary labor market that is reliant on maintaining their job. Because under normal circumstances, if you're a regular American, right? If you're a regular ass American, you have a couple pressures that keep you at your shitty job. Those pressures are the fact that you don't have health care if you lose your job. That's number one. Another pressure that you have is that you said you'll react to my videos if I ask you for the 100th time. No, dude, I was being sarcastic. Stop. What? H-1B is fucking ducking horrible. Rusty Twitch TV. I'm going to get to the problems with the H-1B visa system. But hold on. So if you're a regular American citizen, okay, you go to school, you go to college, right? You take on major student loans. You're taking on a shit ton of debt just to be able to become a more productive, more valuable worker. And in the end of that process, now you have to pay off those loans. So there are a couple different external pressures that keep you at your shit end job. A job that your educational attainment does not require you to take on in normal circumstances, but now you're desperate. Okay? Obviously, one of those reasons is how expensive college is and all the student loans that you have to take in order to even go there. That traps you. The second reason, that is perhaps the more significant reason, the more important reason, is that if you leave your job, you don't have health care because your health care is tied to your job. But for our endlessly parasitic, capital-owning class, that level of exploitation is not enough, okay? As profit rates have a tendency to decline, our capital owners look to the more malleable aspects of value, more malleable aspects of commodity production, which is always going to be the labor force. That's not enough, so they either A, move manufacturing overseas to a developing nation in an effort to draw out higher profit margins in general, even though that is a logistical nightmare overall. It still is infinitely cheaper at the end of the day for people who want to produce goods at the lowest possible number, produce goods at the as cheaply as possible. Another thing that they also do is take advantage of migrant workers. H-1B visas are supposed to be for these incredibly talented workers that are highly skilled and have gotten, they've gotten all this education. And it's understandable that we have this mentality towards the brain drain. It's what has kept America competitive. It helps improve scientific research in the country. There are many different benefits for the H-1B visa program. The problem, or rather not the problem, but the additional benefit, the real benefit for the likes of Elon Musk, however, is that outside of the two pressure factors that I've mentioned for documented American laborers, there's a third component that is even more consequential. It opens up a new avenue of exploitation because migrant workers, obviously due to the currency exchange, are always going to, if they want to bring money back to their home nations, are going to be, they're going to be more willing to take a pay cut. Okay, that's number one. But number two, perhaps more consequential, is that if they lose their jobs, they don't just lose healthcare, they get fucking deported. Okay? And this is precisely the reason why Elon Musk and many other billionaires love the H-1B visa program. Because this way, you get to bring in a migrant worker that is competent, that is well-educated, that will work for much cheaper than the American worker, okay? And is also tremendously leveraged in the eyes of, or rather, Elon Musk has tremendous leverage over the likes of an H-1B worker, and therefore that H-1B worker is endlessly exploitable. Okay? Much more exploitable than even the documented U.S. citizen laborer. Now, the solution to this problem is to ensure that there is a normalization and a proper processing to ensure that you can't actually depress wages for H-1B workers and keep the wages in the marketplace even. This, of course, is considered socialism or some kind of like price enforcement, some kind of wage enforcement, which is not even a part of the conversation. Not a single person will allow that to happen. Okay? And that is precisely why we have arrived at this major problem for a lot of Americans who are like, well, I want to get a job, especially in the tech sector where there's been hundreds of thousands of layoffs. What the fuck is going on? Elon Musk is still trying to fill these roles. Elon Musk is still trying to fill these roles with migrant workers rather than American laborers. And therein lies the major issue. Okay? And yes, by the way, this is my tweet that I screenshotted that Lolo posted, just so you know. And I can't believe he posted that and he got 46,000 fucking likes. This son of a bitch. I should have posted it. It is the funniest tweet I've seen. He sent me his screenshot. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, dude, I also screenshotted it. I sent him back the same fucking tweet. I was like, this is hilarious. I'm constantly insulted on this platform. So there it is. Therein lies the major problem. Now, I obviously have been gloating a little bit on the timeline over this process because I think it's very funny. A couple things I want to point out. Okay. Racist people are so funny. They thought the billionaire man doesn't just want cheaper labor, just like they foolishly think they're superior to a dude born into abject poverty just because the dude is brown. There's an air of entitlement and superiority that a lot of Americans feel over the rest of the world because of American empire. They think like they did it. You didn't do it, okay? You're just a beneficiary of it to a certain degree, and you're not even a good enough beneficiary of it because all the death and destruction that we subjugate the developing nations to do not even come back bountiful to the American society, to the average American labor aristocrat. Okay? That's what's so funny about it, is that part of the reason why our GDP is so high is because there are so many expensive middle managers in every process. For-profit healthcare is one of the best glaringly obvious examples of this. There is no real service that they're providing, and it should not exist. Okay? It's a concept that literally only churns profit for people. That's it. It's a money-making operation. It doesn't have any real service. It doesn't offer anything. Like, that's not a real concept at all. We just made up an entire fucking industry specifically designed to make things more costly. And they certainly do make things more costly. And it makes a lot of money for people who are shareholders. Okay? And we've basically done this with every industry. So the second tweet I had, which apparently a lot of right-wingers agreed with, which I thought was strange, is the elites destroyed schooling in this country for profit. They treat teachers like dirt. Kids get shot in school. Then they tell you college is not important and it can't be free. And now you're sitting around mad about H-1B visas. Lamau, you've been robbed blind. Ashley St. Clair said, never thought I'd see the day where I agree with Hasan. A bunch of right-wingers saw this tweet and were like, oh my God, I agree. Which is interesting. It's very interesting. I guess when you frame it with elites rather than capital-owning bourgeois or whatever. Oh my God, you're becoming jank? Yeah, totally. This means I agree with right-wingers and not vice versa. I think I'm on the opposite side of that spectrum, where right-wingers are agreeing with me. I'm not agreeing with right-wingers. I am noticing contradictions that other people are also noticing and using that to describe my worldview in a way that people can comprehend. This is what I do. It's called agitative propaganda. Okay? That is the major difference here. Isn't this their argument for school choice? The elites destroyed schooling in this country for profit is literally a argument against school choice. Okay? If I didn't know you, I would have assumed you were right-wing just by the use of the word elites. So, elites here is obviously a substitute for capital owners, not like, Jews or I don't know, woke they them baristas. Okay, like the actual elites, the actual people who are in control of capitalist society, capital owners. Okay, just so you understand. I mean, everyone here understands it, and the point still stands. The point remains: the elites destroyed schooling in this country for profits. It is true. Part of that is school choice, voucher programs, and rampant privatization. Okay? That is how it works. And LeBron is the one fucking elite that hasn't done that. He literally actually funded a public school when he had the opportunity to fund a charter school. That is one of the many different reasons why I love LeBron James and will glaze him endlessly. I can't believe you just activated my trap card by bringing up LeBron while we were talking about schooling in this goddamn country. Put some respect on the GOAT. Okay? Put some respect on the GOAT. Okay? Pour some honey. It's literally true. You can shit on LeBron James for anything else, okay? You can't shit on him for this. But ultimately, what is important for you to comprehend here is that this is the truth. Okay? This is the truth. The truth is that rampant privatization has absolutely gutted and destroyed American public education. And that is a major component as to why American laborers are no longer competitive in the global market. And there are two ways out of this. Either you try to engage in isolationist policies, or you rapidly improve the educational infrastructure in this country and make it as egalitarian as possible in order to yield the best possible results. Because you don't fucking know what people's ceilings are. This is part of the problem with racist sentiment. There are many issues with white supremacist attitudes, but this is a major problem. You have no idea what a kid growing up in Southside Chicago, what their potential actually looks like. When you rob them of that potential ahead of time, you'll never know. Okay? That's it. You will never know. And in that process, because we're trying to eke out profits from every corner, from every sector possible, we actually end up making our labor force less competitive in the global marketplace. And that's why, inevitably, countries like China will thrive in this marketplace because they don't fuck around with education. This is why it's always hilarious when Donald Trump, in the same conversation, will say something along the lines of abolishing the Department of Education. And in the same breath, without a shred of irony, will turn around and say, look at Norway and Chinese education. It's so much better than us. I wonder why. Perhaps it's because they understand the importance of education across the board. So there's two ways out of it, which is to endlessly engage in profit seeking while simultaneously push harder and harder, engage in more isolationism, and continue rampant exploitation, and refuse to educate your broader populace and become dumber as a society. A dumber society is easily controlled, easily manipulated, so it still benefits the capital owners in general as they rely on better educated migrant workers that are more exploitable. Or you can continue migration while also simultaneously ensuring that every American gets the proper education all the way up to the college level, make college education free in general, and stop fucking listening to dumbass elites like Elon Musk who take advantage of that division in American society to sell you a lie. I am reminded of the Vivek Ramaswamy moment where he wore that fucking Texas jacket and the big cowboy hat. Let me see if I can find it. This is all it takes for many dumbass Americans. All it takes is for a guy like this, who is a hedge fund pharma bro, right? Who is one of the major villains of American society that has robbed regular Americans blind. All it takes is for this dude to put the fucking Texas jacket on, put a big ass cowboy hat on, and go, I don't like trans people. I think trans people are robbing you blind. I don't like them Mexicans. And then everybody goes, you're right. You're right, King. American history is riddled with people like this. Okay? One of the greatest examples is Ronald Reagan, who was literally an actor. Okay? This is precisely the Ronald Reagan method. Fake populist bullshit. Make Americans divided, make them focus on racial boundaries that don't disrupt the capitalist pecking order. And you can rob them blind. Vivek Ramaswamy set us Indian Americans back 2 decades by doing this bootlicker shit. Yeah, it's also kind of funny because as far as like the right-wing BJP Indian Twitter, they're still blaming other Indians, not a shock, who happen to be leftist. So that is also hilarious because the metric ton of racism is not coming from other Indians who happen to be of a lower caste or happen to be leftist. The metric ton of racism is coming from white people in general who literally just despise Indians and don't care. Don't make the don't distinguish between like the good kind and the bad kind. Okay, that's not a real concept. There's never been a real concept. That will never be a real concept. That's not a thing that racists do. It turns out racists don't actually distinguish between non-white people all that much. They just say, oh, you're non-white and therefore you're lesser. Anyway. But let's get back to the CNN coverage on the matter.
He's talking about H-1B visas, which allow employers to hire highly skilled foreign workers.
Do you think funding in liberal arts, humanities, and social sciences should be reduced and redirected to STEM programs, or do you believe those programs are important in many ways for society and development? Of course, I believe those programs are very important in many ways for society and development. Yes, I think this like hyper focus on STEM is so hilarious because one, it never strikes people as odd that those who actually fucking LARP as STEM lords themselves also come from liberal arts degrees with like theater majors, okay? The likes of Steven Crowder and Tucker Carlson, right? And secondly, what's additionally hilarious about it is that they are trying to make the STEM field into serfs. That's why there was so much focus on comp sci in the late 2010s. And look what happened. Now every comp sci major is driving fucking Uber because they all got fired. Okay? They literally were like, oh yeah, learn to code, learn to code, learn to code. All you motherfuckers in this chat, learn to code. Look what happened when people learn to code. There was a very deliberate goal there to flood the marketplace with a lot of new comp sci majors in this like blossoming field so that they could artificially lower the wages in general because it became a more competitive field. And then they made you basically train the AI that would inevitably replace you. Because at the end of the day, capital owners are always going to look for ways of outsourcing your labor to cheaper substitutes. The cheaper substitutes that can actually do the same job anyway. And then basically find the most exploitable employee, H-1B visa employees in this circumstance, because they don't want to get fucking deported, to do your job once you are fired. What do you have to say about societies that have arguably surpassed America, particularly China, that have huge emphasis on STEM and like zero humanities majors compared to America? That's wrong. The idea that like there is no humanities majors in China is objectively incorrect. What are you saying? Countries like China quite literally fund art programs. They fund humanities all the time. They don't just fund humanities, they fund art programs in general. It's not, what you're saying is not correct about China, nor is it correct, nor was it correct about the USSR, for example. It's so funny to say that like there isn't robust literature and robust art in a nation as large as China. Anyway, so the vast majority of people specialize in STEM fields. I may be mistaken, but many people specialize after Gaokao, and they, compared to America, go into STEM. They might have more of a STEM focus in like in Turkey as well. They might have more STEM focus no matter what until like higher education. I don't know enough about Chinese education, but to say that the Chinese government does not fund humanities and don't have like a robust humanities sector or robust art sector is entirely incorrect. You can't be serious about China art programs. Are you sponsored by them or something? Guys, I'm going to be very serious when I say this. I think your understanding of what's going on in China is a little bit warped. I don't know, like, if you think, first of all, America funds art programs. Every government funds art programs, okay? Just so you understand. It's a matter of how much you fund art programs and humanities, okay? The idea that there is a government out there on this planet right now, as it stands, that focuses zero on funding the humanities and funding art is ridiculous. And not only that, but humanities are complementary to STEM in general. Okay? Art is important. Humanities are important. Okay? The idea that like 100% full-blown STEM is the way to go is also silly. I'm sorry, you are wrong. What is this? What is this? Oh, ow my balls. He sent me a Reddit post. What? What the fuck is this? In China, young graduates are selling their knowledge on the streets, facing a difficult job market. Highly educated Chinese have found a new way to monetize their degrees, knowledge street vending. What? I never said that first of all, I didn't say that the Chinese job market for the youth is good, for the record. We're talking about something entirely different. But I don't know how this says, sorry, I was reading chat. I don't know how this has anything to do with what I'm talking about. If we're talking about education and the fact that the Chinese government does fund art and humanities, they still do that. China has the biggest proportion of STEM majors out of any nation in the world. Graph in the link. I was mistaken though regarding America having a lot of humanities majors. It's middle of the pack. Wait, oh, you got clapped while I was in the process of reading your take. I'm a Mexican aerospace engineer in a border city in Mexico. I have peers that have gone to LA to work for a certain defense company that have said they feel stuck with zero negotiating power, having borderline management role with low pay, all because they don't want to lose the visa. Yeah, of course. Let's see what the rest of what Delayed Autistic Guppy said was. Okay, he said, World Graph, I was mistaken though regarding America having lots of humanities majors is in the middle of the pack instead of STEM. Many people go into business and finance. Okay. Okay, so as far as the highest number, if you're looking at this proportionally, I don't know what percentage of Chinese STEM graduates, because this is totality. And of course, China and India in totality are going to be much higher in terms of STEM majors. China and India are much larger countries. I don't know what percentage is as far as like total percentage goes. Percentage of total graduates in STEM fields, China is at 41%, Russia is at 37%, Germany is at 36%, USA is at 20% in the year 2020. Okay? Russia, Germany, Iran has 33%, India has 30%, France has 26%, Mexico has 26%, USA has 20%. Okay? Overall, this still means that the broad majority of every nation, including Chinese graduates, are still in the humanities and art. As far as a proportion of total graduates, the ones that go into STEM fields is still at 41%, when Chinese STEM field is the highest percentage. That means 59% are still humanities and arts graduates. Do you understand? Or business, finance, and the like. Wait, no, that was the mistake I did. Just because you're not STEM doesn't mean that you're humanities. The rest of the people are business, finance. No, I know. I know. I understand that. And in the United States of America, I'm willing to bet that a sizable chunk of this is actually business and finance majors and not necessarily humanities and art. And that's part of the reason why it's so low here. And that is because that's where the money is. It doesn't mean that it's all art and literature. You also don't have to major in humanities. You just have to take those classes when you STEM major because they're good for you. Yeah, I don't necessarily know how well flushed out like the Chinese STEM education is, but I still suspect that they probably have every higher degree, whether you're in a college in America or anywhere in the world, requires you to take at least some level of humanities classes. Even if you're STEM in the United States of America, you still have to take some humanities classes. I suspect that it's probably still the same in China as well. And I don't know how much more well-rounded the Chinese STEM degrees look like, but it's the overall a good thing to have that. No, STEM in Germany requires no humanities. If China had no humanities, they wouldn't have so many fucking art museums, shatters tripping. One interesting note is that many Americans are not bilingual, which in present day U.S. market can actually put you well below U.S. citizens in terms of marketability to capital owners. Outside of the U.S., high school is very robust. College is already specialized by them. Yeah, that's also the other part of this, at least from my own personal experience. Even in Turkey, when you start specializing by high school, you still have, like, I was a TM major, which means I took Turkish, which is like literature, and math, as opposed to FM majors who specialize in fen, science, and math. Math is still very important and something that you need to take. Like, we took up to Calc 2 in high school. By the time you get to college in Turkey, you already have that. You already have that background. So I suspect that like a lot of the high school education is also better flushed out in these other countries rather than the way it is in America. Actually, I don't even know fully how it is in the United States of America. But yeah, U.S. math in high school, like the Common Core high school math that you take is definitely significantly worse. Significantly worse than the rest of the world. I had Calc 1 senior year for college credits in high school, no Calc 2. A lot of the big tech companies right now are losing a lot of talent to private equity / hedge funds. I know developers who are in their late 20s that are making $225K a year plus 50 to 75K source firm or hedge fund developer who got the fuck out. I make less now, but at least I'm not selling my soul. Yeah. Notice how here, I'll just say it like this, okay? I have obviously personal experience with this, not from my own immediate experience in the workforce, but let's just say I know someone who is very close to me, who is highly educated and builds spaceships for a living, okay? And what I have seen in terms of workplace treatment, in terms of job prospects, in terms of what that specific sector looks like, you would be shocked. Okay? I was certainly shocked when I saw how incredibly dire the situation is, where, and I talked about this yesterday as well, every sector in the United States of America, including like what was formerly known as the golden bracelet sectors, like engineering, you know, maybe lawyering, being a doctor. Engineering was supposed to be part of that process. Nowadays, even engineering is basically relegated to the passion that you have for building certain things, because it's certainly not about the money. If you're an engineer and you want to make money, you got to go into finance. The only fucking sector that you can make money in is finance, okay? It's business and finance. That's it. That's it. And that's precisely why so many people that have, no matter what their fucking background is, go into that sector. So if you understand the motivational capacity that wages have, your salary has, then you can understand how to fix this problem. Are you saying doctors don't make good money? No, I'm saying engineers don't make as much good money as they used to. Anyway, the point is, it all still comes back to wages. If you want to positively incentivize people into going to certain sectors that need extra hand, you have to ensure that wages are higher and that sector is still capable of recruiting the top level talent. But we have a negative incentivization structure in the United States of America, where basically we make it so that the bottom is endless, and therefore you're constantly competing with the entire globe, with the labor force of the entire fucking globe, where your starting position is worse off in general too, despite the fact that you're in the wealthiest nation on the fucking planet. Okay? You're in the wealthiest nation on the planet, a nation that has seen a 14% increase in homelessness this past year. Okay? Think about that. 700,000 people are sleeping outside tonight. Insane. On top of that, you have to take you're saddled with student loan debts that force you into jobs that you don't even want to fucking take, despite your educational attainment. And people eat one another alive when they're talking about, or it was 18% increase. Sorry, it's not 14% increase. People are eating one another alive and yelling about how college is for the elites and it's gay and woke and that's the real problem and DEI is the real problem, or whatever. A number of different unnecessary and idiotic fucking takes are flying around. Meanwhile, people like Elon Musk are robbing you fucking blind. And this story in and of itself is fantastic for me, because I think it exposes how easily tricked many Americans are and how they utilize the racism button to gain favor and continue further division in American society as they continue their domination. They don't give a fuck about anything other than making more money, okay? They only care about profits. It doesn't matter what happens to you.
Musk, who himself is from South Africa, said that he once had this kind of visa, and he's arguing that Silicon Valley is facing a shortage of excellent engineering talent, as he put it. But the annual cap on those kinds of visas right now is at $65,000, with another $20,000 for those who get a master's or a doctorate in the U.S. Musk is being backed up by his partner in Trump's government efficiency initiative, Vivek Ramaswamy. He says it's a cultural issue that there aren't more competitive engineers in the U.S. Here's what he said online: a culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ, or the job.
Like, this is so stupid. It's incredible. We're not venerating our nerds enough. Our culture doesn't venerate nerds. Yeah, that's the problem. Thank you, Vivek. I love that Vivek basically was like, yeah, I got no pussy when I was in high school, so now it's your fault. Also, it's not like Vivek is a fucking engineer. What has he produced? He hasn't done shit. He's a hedge fund guy. He is a pharma bro. He's a fucking Silicon Valley tech guy. Him, JD Vance, Elon Musk even. Elon Musk is at least like visibly autistic as fuck, so people assume that he is like some kind of fucking engineering savant when he's not. He has one fucking patent. What the fuck has he done? He has one patent. All he does is hire the appropriate people and then fucking, put them under horrific circumstances. Oh, not him projecting. These guys are all business majors LARPing like they're actually fucking cooking up new inventions. It's all aesthetics. There actually was one guy in my high school who qualified for the U.S. International Math Olympiad team, but now works in a quant firm. It's so messed up that his talents are being focused to trade the stock market due to that being what capitalism brought. Exactly. Exactly. I'm sure that dude could apply himself better in a public research capacity instead of churning out extra profits for capital owners who hire him. Okay? But that's where the big bag is. So why the fuck would you not go there? The only thing that stops you from going there is the genuine passion that you have. This is what I was talking about with respect to fucking engineering. The only thing that keeps certain engineers continuously in the engineering side of things and not going to fucking finance where all the money is certainly not the fucking job prospects. It's certainly not the comfortable salary that you get. It is your own pure passion. It is autism, okay? It is the autistic interest that you have in building certain things. That's it. That's it. And some people go, all right, fuck this. I need to make money. And then they go into finance anyway. Like there is so much talent in this world. There is so much talent in this world, from highly educated people all the way to people whose potential is robbed from them due to the unequal circumstances they were born into. Okay, where people could apply themselves to truly make revolutionary, groundbreaking, world-changing technology to improve people's lives in a dramatic capacity. And yet, all of that talent and all of that brain power is lost to the fucking finance sector because that's the only thing that makes money. That's the only thing that people care about. And as all these other sectors offer you very little pay as the cost of living increases in these major cities that you have to get these jobs at, that's it. We're just cooking ourselves. We're cooking society. Stop using the word autistic to describe any interest in something, please. Okay, I will not stop using the word autistic when talking about someone who is autistic. What the fuck are you talking about? Shut up. Anyway, let's continue.
Talk over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World, or Zach and Slater over Screech and Saved by the Bell, or Stefan over Steve Urkel and Family Matters will not produce the best engineers. But that argument is not going over well with Trump's MAGA base, certainly not online. Some of them saying, we did not ask them to engineer an immigration policy. Tech wants indentured servants, not high-skilled workers. You don't even know what MAGA immigration policy is. Now, Trump...
Wait. And Coulter said American workers can leave a company. Imported H-1B workers can't. Tech wants indentured servants, not high-skilled workers. Yeah, it's not just tech, by the way. And Coulter, it certainly isn't just tech. Let me tell you, it's every sector. It's every sector. That's where undocumented migrants come in. You know, driving your Ubers, picking the crops, Who do you think is doing that? Building houses. Who is working in the kitchen? The problem is capitalism makes people more vicious and more self-interested and causes people not to recognize that a lot of Americans or a lot of people across the globe have the exact same interests, the exact same class interests. So when those class dynamics are mystified consistently through the likes of identity politics and all these other different classifications that are applied to workers broadly, and the attitude developed within liberalism is this zero-sum game always. People go, why the fuck would you raise the wages for undocumented migrants? Fuck them. They should be deported. Not realizing that if there was at least some kind of legal safeguards for undocumented migrants, that they could be processed and become documented laborers in the American marketplace, in the American labor marketplace, where they could actually work alongside the documented U.S. labor force and unionize and demand higher wages and better workplace protections. It would genuinely improve all labor in this country. But as it stands, the way we operate, we have a constant depressive force on wages, an endless talent pool that refreshes through incredibly violent means such as deportation. Okay? Those guys are just the same as you. There is nothing different between an undocumented migrant and a documented U.S. laborer. There's no difference whatsoever. They're just trying to make a living in the exact same ways that you are trying to make a living. They're coming from dire circumstances in comparison to the average American worker. That much is true. But if there were universal workplace protections, they wouldn't be endlessly exploited in the same way. And therefore, they would not operate in a depressive capacity to the rest of the marketplace, the rest of the fucking wage laborers. The system has created an endless bounty of treats that are at an affordable price point for the average American consumer. So on that front, that level of consumption has this dulling effect on the, I guess, labor aristocracy in the United States of America. However, it has consistently not only depressed wages, where wages have not kept up with productivity, but also on top of that, it just ruins your life further and further, slowly but surely. All the big ticket items that you need, like a college education for upward social mobility, is now impossible to attain without taking on hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loans that will then trap you into jobs that you don't want to actually do, that you are overqualified for. But it doesn't matter because what else is out there? Someone has to pay those fucking student loan debts. So you take on these jobs in the service sector, even though you're supposed to be doing something different. And it ties you into that job. Not only are you saddled with death, but you're tied to that job because there's no other way for you to get health care.
Workers, you don't even know what MAGA immigration policy is. Now, Trump himself, who I should note restricted H-1B visas in his first term, has said on the campaign trail this time around that he did want to make it easier for educated foreigners to work in the U.S.
What I want to do and what I will do is you graduate from a college.
China spends 7 trillion yuan, about 1 trillion USD on education, more than double what they spend on defense, more than what the US spends on defense. University is basically free even for the poorest villager. Yeah, we can't do that. That's too costly. And also, if education is free, who the fuck is going to go? If college is free, who is going to join the American military? If college is free, then why the fuck would you sign your soul to the Defense Department, to the Pentagon? Hello? If college is free, then you no longer have student loan debts that you have to pay off. Why the fuck would you take on? Why? You would have too much leverage. You would have far too much leverage to say no to certain jobs until those jobs actually pay well enough. That's it. That's the entire principle behind the way that our system is designed. It's negative incentives all the way down. Here. Can you believe it is this is a Chinese university, the Hebei Institute of Fine Arts in China, built and subsidized by the people? Anyway, I mean, this is just one fucking college. We need to do a broader. We can look into like Chinese humanities and arts funding in a little bit.
College, I think you should get automatically as part of your diploma a green card to be able to stay in this country. And that includes junior colleges too. Anybody graduates from a college, you go in there for 2 years or 4 years. If you graduate or you get a doctorate degree from a college, you should be able to stay in this country.
My political sources tonight are former New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, CNN political commentator and Republican strategist Sir Michael Singleton, and also CNN economics and political commentator Catherine Rampell. And Catherine, you have covered this issue for a long time. Can you just lay out what we're looking at here in this divide between what Elon Musk says he thinks would be the best for the United States and why we are seeing something that we have not seen, frankly, almost at all lately, which is a lot of people in the MAGA universe outright disagreeing with him, arguing with him, and breaking with him online?
So Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy in this particular case, I think are exactly right. America's ability to attract talent from around the world is basically our economic superpower. The fact that in particular, we've been able to attract high-skilled immigrants quite reliably in this country over the past century or so is why we have this enduring leadership in science, tech, and business. So just as an example, of all Fortune 500 companies, about half of them were founded by immigrants or the children of immigrants. And of the Nobel laureates, American Nobel laureates who have received prizes for the hard sciences this century, about 40% of them are immigrants who came to this country. So again, this is our superpower, and I'm very glad that Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy recognize it. I very much hope that they are able to influence Donald Trump on this particular issue, but I'm doubtful about it because just as you mentioned, in his first term, Trump was actually quite hostile to legal immigrants, in particular, by the way, high-skilled legal immigrants. He made it really hard for them to come here, not just those who wanted work authorization, international students who cross-subsidized American students, by the way. He basically harassed them and made it very difficult for them to keep their legal documents in order. That's because as much as Trump has said, oh, he only objects to illegal immigration, he's very much in favor of legal immigration. His policies don't bear that out, and that's partly because Stephen Miller is the one who was the architect of Donald Trump's immigration policies last time around and will probably do so again this time around, and is unlikely to adopt the sort of Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy view of things.
Yeah, Stephen Miller's getting a huge job in the West Wing. He's been around Trump for the 4 years he was out of office. And Sir Michael, as the Republican here, I wonder what your view on this is, because this is happening within the Republican Party. I mean, these are two top advisors to Trump, the MAGA world, who are kind of framing this as the true believers who say, we asked for stricter immigration policies. That didn't mean coming with a carve out for high-skilled workers that they say are taking American jobs here.
Yeah, look, I think with all due respect to Mr. Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they should focus on saving federal dollars for the taxpayers and not immigration policy. I understand some of the points that Catherine made, and I agree to an extent, but I think the U.S. should focus more on domestic skill development. Studies also show that H-1B1 exacerbates employers hiring individuals from outside of the country when they could potentially hire minorities, for an example, which we know there's a shortage in the STEM fields. There are a significant number of Americans who I think would love opportunities if they had the proper training and skills to operate in those jobs fairly well. So why not start and focus there? I'm not of the support or mindset, Caitlin, that we should let in more than the 60,000+ that were already let into the country. Do we have some deficits? I certainly understand that point, again, to what Catherine was sort of alluding to. But I think by focusing on increasing domestic skill development, you can decrease the furtherance of those deficits by virtue of saying, you know what, we're going to spend more of our time, more of our dollars educating our own citizens to compete for these jobs versus saying, let's increase to 100,000 or maybe even more.
Right wing has arrived at DI by accident. What if I were to tell you that all matter of white identity politics is already white DEI? What if I were to tell you that all the racism that you see is literally white DEI? Everybody loves DEI. Listen to a bunch of the Musk Loomer space. It's so wild. It's so embarrassing. Musk says accurately and repeatedly. Loomer said she would escalate her complaint to Trump, and Musk asked her who she thought she was. You're not the people. You're a person. Let's get that straight. And an insane person at that. That's it. As someone here on H-1B, this discourse has made me really concerned about my situation. There's no other legal pathway to immigration without an H-1B. No, I know. Also, H-1Bs are not bad. It is good. It's a good structure on principle. It's a good structure in theory. I don't even care. It doesn't even need to be H-1B visas. I don't take issue with any sort of migration in general. I want to fucking document all of the laborers across the board that are working in American commodity production, because I understand that that is the only way to improve wages and benefits for all American workers. The problem is they don't want to do that, and American capital owners only want to utilize H-1B visa workers in a way to exploit them further, in a way that they can exploit them more than they can exploit the documented U.S. labor force. Because there are multiple pressures on top of that. Marvel with me and wig at 4 p.m., bruv, says Elon. Yes, bruv. I'm down, bruv. Type shit. I'm down, lad. Elon, I don't know if you know this, but I'm gold 3, okay? Get us some fucking Elon, go find us some supports though. We need supports. Manchester.
Or for employers to bring in individuals from India, which is a predominant country where many of them come from. I don't agree with that at all. And I think folks in the MAGA world have every right to be angry with Vivek and Elon Musk.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point, because I saw that argument being made, but also I saw Mark Cuban, Mr. Mayor, responding to that saying, well, and I think we have what he had posted, quoting to Elon Musk and Vivek, saying, well, everyone, argue college is overrated. If you're arguing we need to have more homegrown engineers, don't we need more kids who are going to college? I mean, I think he's being a bit sarcastic there, but that is kind of the dual arguments that you...
I mean, that's it. That's it. You can't literally be like, college sucks and it's gay and woke and there should be no college. You shouldn't go to college. And then simultaneously be like, oh, what the fuck? Why are there so many more better educated immigrant labor out there? Yeah, no shit, dude. Of course. You have literally systematically destroyed American education for years to turn profit, to make the broader populace more servile, easier to dominate, more malleable. You've made college so goddamn expensive that when American laborers want to be more productive and get education, higher education, you've made it impossible for them to do so without being saddled with thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And then you're just shocked. Your argument doesn't make sense there? What do you mean? How does it not make sense? Education is consistently defunded and undermined in this country, driving a massive wedge between the quote unquote middle class, like working class and capital owners. If you're from a wealthy background, you can go to an elite private school. Okay. It's very costly, but at least you get the top-notch education. Okay. Then from there on, you can go to a better college. If you're already wealthy, your parents probably went to a good college. Therefore, you have the one true affirmative action that everybody fucking allows in this country: legacy admission. You're set up in a way where if you're wealthy, your next of kin will also have a massive, robust network. Okay? For poor people, for poor Americans, they do not get any of these benefits. They're cooked. And they are, the quality of education that they get, if you're a part of the underclass, gets worse and worse year over year. What about POCs that are in higher education but are not getting those jobs? This is an issue that affects all Americans. Wait, what? What? I'm confused as to why you think this is like somehow opposing an argument that I have presented. I genuinely don't know what you're saying, unless you mean POCs as a person of capital. Is that what you're saying?
You see sometimes from this political orbit.
Look, I see a couple of things going on here. First of all, I have to say I agree with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. I think they're pointing out the reality that we're living. You could say, and I hear Shermichael's point, I disagree with it though, because I think it misses the fact that we want to get to the place where we can maximize the use of our own talent in this country. Let's bring in the best and brightest from all around the world. Let's really make our economy stronger. Let's become even more tech dominant. That's the way, in fact, to elevate the whole country and to create more opportunity for Americans of all kinds in the tech field. So I don't know why on earth we wouldn't want to grab all the talent out there, especially because if we don't, our competitors will. I think it's also fascinating that we're seeing this kind of open conflict. I think it's going to be the first of many. And of course, that speaks to the question of Elon Musk's role. I think
POC equals people of color. Yeah, I know that. I'm making a joke. I don't understand what that chatter is saying undermines my point. I don't know why he was being contentious when he brought up people of color. I was making a joke when I said, unless you're talking about people of capital.
Really soon, we're going to see more divergence between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. It's natural, given each of them having the power they have. I think that's going to be a very, very important storyline in 2025, that these two people who appear to be allies but really have very different interests start to diverge issue by issue. We saw it also during the recent budget fight. I think we're going to see it on issues like artificial intelligence and climate, where Musk has been in a different place than.
About 1 million arts and literature graduates in China out of 4.7 million graduates last year, about 21% according to Statista, above around 10% for U.S. according to some sources. So China has doubled the number of arts and literature graduates in China than the United States of America, percentage-wise. So it is mostly just fucking business and finance. Or I feel like STEM also features finance, because you got like quants and shit, like math majors.
Trump.
Anyway.
That's going to have ramifications for how successful Trump can be in general. And then finally, I mean, look, for the MAGA world to be turning on their own this quickly this is also an interesting question. They almost look like Democrats here. It's like, so I say this lovingly as a Democrat, like we have an ability to eat our own very quickly sometimes. Well, this is fascinating. Here are these heroes just a few minutes ago, and they say one thing that a lot of the MAGA world disagrees with, and suddenly they're being villainized. That's not good for that coalition.
Yeah, I think that's interesting in terms of what the West Wing will look like, too. I mean, Elon Musk is not coming in, Catherine, but in an official capacity, but he's in the room. He's always at Mar-a-Lago. Trump jokes about how he's always often there.
Yeah, Laura Loomer, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Laura Loomer actually did bring up a good point where there's a lot of like entry-level jobs that where Tesla and even SpaceX, I think, where Elon Musk relied on H-1B visa workers rather than American laborers. And we know what the real reason as to why he did that. The real reason as to why he did that is because, once again, H-1B visa workers are more easy to dominate. Okay? That's it. They have additional pressure on top of the regular fucking pressures that the documented U.S. labor force has. They're more vulnerable. They have less leverage. They can be deported if they don't play ball, if they lose their jobs. It's all about finding the most vulnerable workers that you can dominate, because ultimately you want them to do the job of 2 workers, 3 workers, 4 workers. Okay? They're easier to exploit. Elon banned me today for talking about class. Very telling. He bans me, but not the races. What? Oh, okay. I think you're missing a point. I love you, Hasan, but I've listened to you too much for about 6 weeks, and I think you need to do a deeper dive into race. Yes, we understand that. I do. I think chat does too. Dude, in 2024, we're not doing that. Okay? No more hollow racial critiques. Okay? Racism is a divisive component of this conversation that keeps that basically gets these dumbass MAGA guys to be on board with whatever the fuck the white supremacist forces are advocating for. If you think 2025, sorry, if you think that I'm not familiar with how racial dynamics are factored into this equation, I don't know what to tell you. This is still, at the end of the day, a primarily class-based problem. Okay? You want to know why I know this is a class-based problem? Racism is just an additional component that makes the position of capital owners more marketable to the white working class. Okay? You want to know why I know this is a class problem? Because they used to make these arguments against other people that were not considered white. Okay? That are now obviously considered white. It's just depending on where these people are coming from, like the Irish, like the Italians, Polish people, Jewish people. Racism in this regard is simply a way to try and get broader subsects of the American labor force on board with arguments that actually harm them. This is literally the same situation for illegal Mexican immigrants on farms, right? Am I wrong? Basically, a workforce, you can work 4x the time for 25% of the pay for normal Americans, but because it's tech world and fancy sounding names, people don't associate them. Yes, you're absolutely correct, which is why I keep repeating that point over and over again. Wait till business owners, like small business owners that rely on undocumented labor, wait till those guys start feeling the pain of mass deportation. Anyway. Following since 3 days ago, I think this person isn't aware that you talk about this constantly. I know. Racism in this regard is a way to drive a wedge between the working class, because the violence that is dished out upon black workers, brown workers alike, is dished out on a class basis. Unless you are talking about like individual acts of violence or the additional violence that comes from systemic racism, when we're talking about wage laborers, when we're talking about how wages work and why H-1B workers are seen as fantastic additions to the American workforce by these capital owners, it is because they have an extra component of vulnerability. And that is that they can get deported if they don't have their jobs. That means they are more readily available to work longer hours, for example. They can be brutalized and exploited further than the documented labor force can be, regardless of what their background is. Okay? That's it. It's that simple. Trying to fucking drive a wedge into this conversation by being like, well, it's actually white supremacy. You're not talking about white supremacy. When white supremacy is an important component in this conversation, only when you're talking about how this attitude is marketed or how the resentment is universalized by white working class racists who don't fucking understand that they are being fucked over. When I'm literally trying to explain to people who might be in the margins of having these sorts of attitudes that they have the same exact interest that every other worker has all around the world, all you're doing is unnecessarily trying to bring the conversation back. You're unnecessarily trying to bring the conversation back to identity politics with a very hollow, very shallow conceptual understanding of identity politics. You are either willingly or unwillingly playing the role of a wrecker in this regard.
He has dinner with him regularly. Between that and the tech moguls who have been parading down to Mar-a-Lago to also have dinner with him, I wonder what that looks like with this divide that is so clear between Stephen Miller and what he has been advocating for and what we know he did in the first term, and what this looks like with a new big advisor in Trump's ear like Elon Musk.
Trump seems to listen to the last person he heard from. So if that is Elon Musk, it might be Elon Musk. If it's Stephen Miller, and as you point out, Stephen Miller will have a very powerful job in the next administration, it's probably going to be him. Frankly, I don't think Trump pays all that much attention to the nitty-gritty policies that are taking effect under his watch, which is probably why he doesn't even realize that last time around, he did a lot more to reduce legal immigration than illegal immigration, because Stephen Miller.
So white people are attacking Indians for smelling bad? What? Yeah, whites are attacking Indians for smelling bad because of their class, not their race. You're so dumb. I don't see color. Lefters. Yeah, whites are attacking Indians for smelling bad because of their class. Are you okay? Are we having a conversation about the white supremacist attitudes that many race people demonstrate towards Indians, or are we having a conversation about like what the capital owners' interests here are in terms of retaining H-1B visas as a structure and why that is so beneficial for your bosses? Cognizant is an Indian IT company. This article is widely overplaying this, so white people are attacking Indians for smelling. Also, this is an unimaginably racist fucking thing to say. I know that you're probably trying to say that, like, this is what people are saying, okay? But the way you structure the sentence makes it seem like you also feel this way, okay? But yes, racism as a white supremacist attitudes and racism as a divisive component in regular political discourse is used in this regard. That's it. You're not wrong. Yes, white people are like, oh, Indians come from a different culture. They can't be a part of Western society. They smell bad. Yeah, that is unimaginably racist. The practical application of that kind of racism is so that people differentiate themselves from others who have the exact same class interests as they do in order to divide the working class and dominate them with ease. So yes, unless you personally, as a fucking radlib, believe that people are just intrinsically tribalist and it's not learned behavior and they're ontologically evil due to their intrinsically tribalist nature, which, by the way, has no solution whatsoever to that problem. So I guess we just have to kill racist people, I guess. Like, I don't know how you want to approach the problem, how you would tackle this fucking problem. Have to understand and contend with, yes, a materialist analysis of the issue. What the fuck is this argument? You end up playing the role in the exact same way that fucking racists do. Even though you're morally correct if you're anti-racist, ultimately you're serving the same exact purpose, which is the underlying assumption that, like, white people on the other side of the equation, who also are being destroyed by class dynamics, by class politics in general, who are victim to class violence, are actually the real enemies. I do not care about the fucking bourgeois. I do not care about the capital owners. I want the American working class to be fucking punished. That's your attitude. You're like, fuck the likes of Elon Musk. I want the regular American to be fucked over. 1 million 9/11s to the American working class. Talking out against racism equals radlib. I never said class is not important. Race is a very important factor too. No, you want this conversation to be dominated on the virtues of race and race alone. When I'm having a conversation about the class component, you want to bring it back to race. You want to simply talk about the individual racist acts that you see from dumbass racist people without having a broader conversation. This is the one time where I'm not directly talking about racism and tackling it head on. And you immediately go back, no, stop talking about class. Only talk about race. While you are morally on the right side of this argument, if you are anti-racist, and it seems like you are, you're still serving the same purpose. Diluting the conversation, trying to fucking laser in on one component. The component that is the most shallow component. It's just a marketing. And now that you were called out for this weird wrecker behavior, you go, talking out against racism equals radlib. I was simply talking out against racism. Yeah, because they're critiquing their race. No one cares about the H-1B visa holders from Europe. Because a lot of the H-1B visa holders overwhelmingly still come from China and India. This doesn't justify the racism that they experience. Also, this is incorrect as well. UK had to import a lot of Romanian laborers and Polish laborers. This was a big component as to why they wanted to fucking leave the European Union. That's why Brexit happened. The overwhelming majority of the British working class were frustrated with the fact that there was a shit ton of Polish workers in the UK. So no, it literally, in that regard, wasn't because the Polish mind is servile and easy to dominate, and it's not up to standard with the unique high IQ British mentality. It was because they were like, what the fuck? They're taking the jobs. This man runs the identity politics like a Republican campaign manager. Yeah. It's so dumb because this is something that everyone in this community understands. Okay. Racism is not only inappropriate, it's fucking idiotic. It's wrong. Everybody understands this. All you're doing in this situation is basically going, racism is bad. Yeah, no shit, dude. Thanks. Thanks for the fucking brilliant take. I really, you changed my worldview in its entirety. Please stop talking about class dynamics and go back to race instantly. Okay. And then you also turn around and say, oh, this is just class reductionism. You're just being a fucking annoying wrecker for no goddamn reason in a situation where the material reasons why people want H-1B visa workers in the eyes of the bosses is not because Indian workers are easier to dominate, because a lot of people are white supremacist and anti-Indian, okay? That's not the reason. It's because of currency exchange rates, and also because, and more importantly, you'll get fucking deported if you lose your job. So you are easy to exploit. That's it. That's why I talked about whiteness as an ever-expanding concept early on, and do so pretty much every single fucking day, because if the broadest majority of like H-1B visa workers were coming from fucking Poland, then yes, I promise you, as is historically what has happened in American history towards the antagonism that Americans in the in-group have demonstrated towards the out-group, they would be anti-Polish, just like they were in the UK. Just like they were in the United States of America. That's not exact same, but my tech company hires software engineers out of India instead. We are fully remote. Salaries are 1/3 the cost of a U.S. employee. Yes, that's what I'm saying. If the majority of H-1B was from Poland, we would not have this problem. You are wrong. You are absolutely wrong. If the overwhelming majority of H-1B visa workers were Polish, Americans absolutely would be busting out old ass like anti-Polish sentiment. In that they would accept the Polish? No, they wouldn't. And no, they haven't. They literally historically have not. So you're wrong. It took decades for Americans to adopt Polish people into the broader white in-group. What the fuck are you talking about? And I gave you an example from recent history where that literally was a major problem for the UK. Yes, he doesn't fully understand the full extent of racism. He doesn't, but I love him. What? Yeah, I don't. It's because I'm a privileged white man, okay? Are we really doing this right now? Yeah, I don't, okay? Leave the fucking community if you truly take issue with any sort of class politics. This feels like the kind of derailer that's doing anything to get an out of context clip. I don't know. I just don't. It's like, it's a wonderful opportunity to cherish Republican infighting, but god damn it, do radlibs have radlibs will look at any gift that has been given to us in this community, where this is an opportunity for radicalization, for people to understand their class position, okay? They will come in here and be like, no, you're fucking wrong. You simply don't understand how white supremacy works, and that white supremacist attitudes are intrinsic qualities that are unchangeable, okay? You are the idiot reacting in the chat. Yeah, I know. It's true. It's not wrong. Shut the fuck up, radlibs.
Was running the show. So I think that whatever Trump says he wants to do, the actual people who are executing the policy at the end of the day will be making the decisions.